So I was thinking a lot this week about building. And first thing that kind of got me in this frame of mind was seeing that they finished building or did something memorable at WTC4. They had a ceremony for that. And earlier in the year, a couple months back, that the tower became officially the tallest building in New York City. As well as my wife and I tried this week to put together an elliptical machine. I was thinking about building and how it's a whole lot harder to build from scratch. And in all of those places, you didn't really have to. About 4.5 years ago, when I found out that Tali's camp friend, my wife's camp friend, Evan, who had just been in Israel starting his years of rabbinical school, was originally going to be at a different campus, and we were very upset about that. When we found out that Evan got his transfer to be able to come to the New York campus, I had two reactions. My first was, yes! My second was, dibs, you're mine. For Shabbat Unplugged. And I couldn't wait. Evan and I, years ago, when I was in my year in Israel, my first year of rabbinical school, we met way back through a friend, a mutual friend who was ordained in my class. And years later, when Tali and I started dating and we went to a minyan that Evan was leading, I couldn't pray. Because I was sitting there going, I know this guy, I know this guy, I know this guy. At the last song of the service, I went, got it, we hung out in Israel and we played music together. So I was sad that I couldn't pray that evening, but I was thrilled to make that connection. And thinking about building, we've all watched as you've helped to build up Unplugged. When I started here full-time as one of the rabbis here, we had a decent group, but maybe 30 or 40 was a really good night. Some of you were here for that. 30 or 40 was a good night. People in attendance, that is. And a huge, huge part of the reason why it has built to the room you see and the people you see and the vibe in the room that you see is because of Evan, now Rabbi Schultz, with your warm, inviting voice that keeps us guided and keeps us grounded and says, sing with me. I'm singing for the group. I'm singing so all of us can sing together. I'm not singing to perform for you. I'm singing so that we all can sing together. And your absolutely beautiful, transcendent playing of guitar. So we watch as Shabbat Unplugged has built in so many ways and how instrumental, pardon the pun, that you have been in building this up to the wonderful success that Shabbat Unplugged has become. Sorry. Every time that we do, this isn't in my notes. Every time that we do that Yihi L'Ratzon, every time, I get very emotional. I get very choked up, verklempt, if you will. Because I think about what the words of the prayer are saying. The words of the prayer talking about, may the words of our heart be, and the words of our mouths and the meditations of our heart be acceptable to you, O God. And when I look around this room, and when I hear the music that we're playing together, that Evan is leading, and I think about what we have been through personally in the years that we've been playing together, to see of all nights both of our sons here running around the room, to think about what we've all been through together. He was so excited he fell over. It's emotional for him too. But to see how you have built up yourself in your personal life, in your professional life, to know that you came in here really, really, really good. And you're leaving us great and wonderful. And we are so sad to be losing you, but so thrilled that you are going out to be a rabbi to help further the advancement and the betterment of the Jewish community and the world in general. To know that you have been here with us and now you're going out to spread your wings and fly away, so to speak, is something that fills, I think, all of us, and I know for me personally, with a ton of pride and a ton of nachas. To be able to have shared these years with you and to lead this service with you and to see what it's become and to see what you've become and what we've become is a gift and a precious blessing that I'll never forget and I'll always cherish. So I want to give Rabbi Schultz a chance to share a few words.
Wow. So I don't talk too much usually here. When I do talk, sometimes people afterwards are like, oh, you talk, it's kind of weird. So sometimes people think it's weird. So I didn't want it to sound like an academy speech, where I think a lot of people. So I did, when I was young, in my 20s, I applied for a job at Central Synagogue, just down the street. And the senior rabbi asked me a question at the interview that I always think about, and I always sort of like hold on to. And he said, what do you carry with you? And I didn't really know what the question was about. So what do you carry? Just what's on your mind? What are you thinking about? And I always think about that question. I always sort of try to like push myself to answer that question. That if you came up to me and said, what are you carrying with you right now? What are you thinking about? What's sort of on your mind? That I'd be able to answer it. So I thought I'd just share with you a couple things that I carry when I come in here to Shabbat Unplugged. So sort of my thing that I'm into is studying like really traditional Jewish texts and trying to, I don't know, reformulate them, find new language to bring them into our communities. And so I wanted to share two texts that I kind of love that I sort of carry in with me to Shabbat Unplugged more recently that I found. One for when I walk in and one for at the end, having to do with the challah. And the first one, it basically says, I'll paraphrase. The first one basically says that Shabbat, it talks about like business affairs and stuff, and that on the 6 days a week, that's like when you're supposed to get all your business affairs in order. And the only thing you're supposed to do on Shabbat is like to get your spiritual affairs and your spiritual self in order. And so you can do anything that sort of like pertains to building up yourself and your spirit. So I often think about, for me, this place is totally that. I really think that people in this room, the musicians and everyone here, creates a space where we all sort of like, I don't know, work on our spiritual selves for this hour and a half. What the people here create is really something magical. People ask me about it. They say, how is it so successful? What is the secret? And I just say, people come and they pray. And the musicians, they're not just playing a song, they're praying with their instruments. And for that time, we do that. And so when I'm here too, for me, once a month, this is sort of really that space for me to be able to do that. So that's my first one. The second, I recently read in here a text about of bread, a challah. And it talks about this thing called the eruv. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's basically like sort of an enclosure. So if you're very religious, on Shabbat you're not supposed to carry in public. So it creates sort of a public space for you to carry it in there. And what they would do, if you all lived in a courtyard together, is that you create this eruv, not with a string or a wall, but everyone would sort of like take a bite out of the challah and touch the challah, and that's for that Shabbat, that would create that community, that space. And I thought it was really neat, like just a way to think about the bread and the challah, and a community that we are that's not together every week or every day. It comes together once a month, and there's always a different kind of intonation of people, or maybe musicians, or what's going on. And to me, that sort of says, every Shabbat, every time we can take that challah, take that bread, and create that eruv, that space of Shabbat for that one Shabbat, create that community that is, and whatever whatever form, whatever intonation it is. So as we eat the challah tonight, I sort of think about that. We're sort of creating our own little area, our own little space for this Shabbat that I hope you'll carry with you until tomorrow night. I've been really blessed to get to be a part of this. I really love it. It just, I think everyone knows how much I love it. I also want to say my kind of life mentor of mine is here. His name is Saul Kaisman, who when I was young in my 20s, taught me a lot about leading services and playing guitar. He, I think, was leading that service that you probably went to with me when you're like, who's this guy? So I'm really glad you're here. It took 4 years, but we did it. They got a babysitter for us, so I was very excited about that. And to all of you, I just want to say thank you in a prayer space, but just how much I appreciate the gifts that everyone in this room brings, all the musicians. I can play chords, but that's about it. So usually I say, can we do this? Can we try this? And they just sort of figure it out without me speaking in any sort of musical talk. And of course, Josh, you've definitely become a mentor to me and a real guide in this. I think 4 years ago, didn't really know what I was doing, what to expect. We were able to eat more sushi 4 years ago. There were less people, so it made it easier to get sushi. But it is great now that there's so many people here and it continues to grow. So keep building it, keep creating every month, keep creating that community that is so special. And I hope I'll be able to sneak out of the burbs once in a while to come back to the city and spend Shabbat with you. So thank you. It's really been a huge blessing to journey.
So as you take your family up to Connecticut to begin your rabbinic career in Bridgeport, we have a special gift for you. This is a mezuzah that has a guitar and music as a gift from Shari Tefillah, as a gift from Jet Set, as a gift from all of us as you begin your next chapter in your life. And when you welcome people in your home, may it be with blessing and with song and with joy in your hearts. And to always think of us